So I'm going to tell everybody about the story of my piano journey, my keyboard journey, and we all have one. I am a classically trained musician, so I did the whole arc of piano training, the classical reading, and that's about 14 years of my life and it was a long time. And I didn't have much improv. My teachers were very, very traditional. I was learning the classics, Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, and I was struggling. I mean, I went all through my music school bachelor degree, and with piano as my major, and it was tough. And by the end of it, I graduated, and I didn't really, I was like, I don't really want to play. I'm going to become a recording engineer. And then I went to recording school and I was like, oh, I'm going to play now. So, we need freedom to explore and express through music. And I think the classical pathway, that foundation of playing is really great. But for most people who aren't going to become classical musicians and performers, there's a point at which, maybe you've had your fill of that foundational training, and now it's time to open yourself up to more mindful playing, to improvisation, to finding your own sound and your sounds on the keyboard that you like to play, right? Because whatever you find on the piano and the keyboard is like your healing music, and it's your doorway into the sounds that you like and the sounds that soothe you and bring out emotion and help you to just express right through the fingers. So with that said, I do think that some reading, some foundational training is really important, but it's not the only way to learn. So I would say learning how to read music, that is a left brain exercise. You're reading little dots on a page, and that information has to be filtered through into the hands and onto the keyboard. Whereas when you learn theory and learn by ear and learn through exploration, your right brain is way more engaged. There's more of a creative process there. So my first record that I ever released, my first recording, was a solo piano record. It's called Grace Notes. And I started to improvise on these ideas that I found on the piano, and they became these compositional little nuggets that then I improvised over the top. And so that there was one, it was actually around this time, in 2001, I found this incredible little studio in a backyard in Berkeley, California, and it was raining. And I went to the studio, and there was a Steinway B in there, and he was all mic'd up with the best mics, the Neumann, and he had a sound room and the whole thing. And I sat down and I recorded for an hour and a half, and then I chopped those up into tracks, and that was my first record. So I basically did it in one night. And so from the piano, what I've found is that so many ideas, musical ideas, can be generated from just jamming with no agenda. And for some people, that's tough because they're like, well, am I playing anything? Does it sound good? It doesn't sound like a song. And we're so trained just to play songs that we know or melodies other people have created. And then we feel like, now I'm a player, But what I want to open your eyes to today, as a sort of beginning journey of me presenting this thing called piano yoga, or yoga of piano, as I will call it in the bigger course, is to let yourself freely explore the geography of the piano in a way that will just help you to enjoy the process of making the sounds, right? And So I'd like everybody to type in the chat real quick. I'd love to hear what everyone's playing. All right. So do we have a real piano? Do we have a keyboard controller attached to a computer like this one? So here's like these are mini keys. This is fine too. This works. What do we have? What is everybody? Or maybe you don't have one. Maybe I'll inspire you to buy a piano today. I know Brooke is here, and she started taking lessons from me a year and a half ago, and she got herself an upright a couple months ago, and it's like changed her life. So yeah, great. Right. So like we have such a wide range of stuff here. Yeah, good. And the more like keys you have, the more you can explore. And it's certainly, it's not as easy to play like these little keys. You have to approach it in a different way, but you can still do the exercises we're doing today. The advantage of a controller and software is that you can put any sound on here. But I would encourage you to stay with something that's that mimics a piano touch and feel, and you can make harmonies and nothing monophonic for this, right? We want to make some harmonies too, not just a melody. So yes, you know what? That's Matthew. That's awesome. I used to have an Alesis 88 key keyboard. I even forgot what it was called, but that was my first one, and had that for a long time. So it's nice to have the 88 keys, right? If you have room for it in your studio, it's all there. Or if you have something smaller, you have to get used to just hitting those octave buttons as you're playing. So then there's another like level of coordination there. How fun. Yes. Well, good. So we have like a wide range of stuff. What's a Hammer 88? Stara, it's so nice to see you. What's a Hammer 88? Is that like a brand?
Yeah, I think it is. It's I have the Grand that I play on mostly for my Soul Mirror videos, but then I just haven't played with it much. But it has weighted keys, and it's a keyboard that we hook up to our recording stuff. So I have yet to play with it, but I have access to it.
Oh, good. Yeah, so like a weighted electronic controller keyboard, those are great. I just sold mine to one of my clients, and I'm looking for like another type of controller that has more buttons on it and stuff like that. But those are great, and all of these electronic keyboards, like they have different feel. There's different, we call it velocity sensitive, or they just have different weights on them. So or the keys are just designed to be like a little bit, black keys are higher than a real piano, and so going from keyboard to keyboard can be a challenging thing if you're used to playing one type of keyboard, and then you go to another one. You have to kind of like reshape your muscle memory a little bit, and but it's just important that you have something that you can explore with. All right. Well, good. So any other questions? I was going to tell a little bit more about my sound healing journey and why I feel like I wanted to bring, the mindfulness aspect into this practice. So I know a bunch of you guys are yogis or sound healers, and I've already that you understand this world, right? So the world of meditative music and sound healing is very much about space and slowing down, closing your eyes, going inward, exploring, and just being inside of the sounds that either you're hearing by receiving or that you're playing yourself. So when I learned about sound healing and started getting into more of that yogic, so yoga means union, right? We're union with the universal consciousness in our own soul and our own body, and that everything is one and vibrating. So we're going to think of becoming one with the keyboard, with the piano, with the exercise that you're doing. And I want to encourage everyone to, you know, close your eyes when you're exploring and see how that changes, how you're playing and how you're moving your hands around the keyboard. Okay. Yes, I'm going to make this available, this recording at some point. Going to be, it might be on my YouTube first and then in the course portal when that launches also. All right, because we're going to go over a bunch of things that'll help you guys get started. And I can't wait to hear, your feedback as well. Okay, so are we doing good? We're ready to do some playing? All righty. Okay, so I'm going to move this around here. So the first exercise we're going to do, and I would encourage everyone, we're going to try to use all 10 fingers are going to be on the piano, even if you're just playing one. I want them all ready to go. All right. So there's a sense of like when you're playing a lot. Here's a basic technique thing. We want our hands to be kind of rounded like this. And so like you're holding something, and then that's the shape that goes on the piano. So it's like a little claw. And so keep that in mind. So flat fingers and thumbs hanging off your keyboard. See if you can get all the fingers engaged in some way, even if you just decide to play 2 fingers to start out. All right. So this is basic, right? We're building upon the foundation of like approaching the instrument and just not being intimidated by all the possibilities. Okay, because guess what, you guys? There's 12 notes. That's it. Okay, and then they just repeat. All right, does everybody know what the notes are? I just want to make sure we have like a absolute nothing that doesn't know anything about the keyboard. Everybody know that there's 12 notes and we're good with that? Yes? Okay. Thumbs up. All righty. Hey, it's all good, right? So first exercise, you are going to close your eyes and place your hands anywhere. Okay, so, and you're just going to move the hands around. I am going to demonstrate this for you. And there is no destination. There's no beginning, middle, and end. We are just making the sounds. So if you are playing just one note over and over, great. That's a Zen practice. If you're just creating clusters of chords, that's another thing. So let me change my angle here and I'll show you what I mean. But we're going to talk about after this the geography of the piano a little bit. But first I want you to just explore. So changing the video, and this angle is very bright. See, it's almost like I'm in a different room right now. Isn't that awesome? Okay. So placing yourself, there we go, in front of the keyboard and just enjoying the sound, placing your fingers anywhere. So that was like some jazz ballad that just came out. I don't know. There was a couple chords in there that were really cool. I might open my eyes if I play something I like. I might open my eyes and be like, "Oh wow, what was that? Let me make a note of that one. That was dope." All right, so have yourself a couple minutes with this. Go ahead and place and play. So when that means you just put your hands up on that keyboard and feel your way around and listen to what is coming from your keyboard. So no judgment, just sound. Your mind might say, I don't like that. That's okay. Just let this thought pass on by. So you want to think about this as a playing meditation, right? So when we meditate, we close our eyes and we tune in. But just like the devotional voice course and singing and sound healing and meditation, chanting, we're going inward and to feel and to deeply listen to sounds we make. Good. That was pretty short, right? But I just want to kind of give you an idea of what you can do to get started. Every time that I'm ready to make a new song, this is how I start. Sometimes I have my eyes open, but I'm looking for something. I may hear something in my head and then I try to figure it out. That happens. But sometimes there's just no agenda. There's just playing. And especially if I'm in more of that kind of emotional state where I feel like I need to process something that's moving through me, I will sit there and I will just play, and with really no destination in mind, as I explained. And then all of a sudden, I'll fall into some sort of pattern. And this will just like open up the floodgates, and the ideas come. And if sometimes it's just a 2 or 3 or 4 chord progression, very simple, a harmonic movement, a melody, and I'm off to the races. Now I have a piece, and I didn't even intend that to be, right? But we can't that's not going to happen unless we allow ourselves the time and the space to make that exploration happen. How was that exercise? Good. Okay. Yes, very simple. Now, let's talk about the geography of the keyboard. So, I have a very good friend of mine that talked about this. And even though I had taken, years, a decade and a half of music lessons and was around so many people, in my mid to late 20s, I met my friend, Brooke, and he is a phenomenal piano player. I was going to have him be a guest in the course also, because that all he does is improvise and write songs, and he would talk about this like geography of the piano. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, so, well, we have the this predictable pattern on our keyboard, right? We've got the black keys and we have the white keys. And in order to play, and to navigate around these, you can feel your way around, right? So if you have your eyes closed, can you feel when you hit 2 black keys? Can you feel when you hit the 3 black keys? And then navigate around those keys. So that's why we learn things like scales and do finger exercises in piano in a more foundational level, is so we can get used to our fingers navigating the geography of the keyboard. So we've got the 2 and the 3 black keys are the key to understanding, as we move around, where we are on the keyboard. And then we've got these 2 notes here. We have the ones that don't have the black key in between. Those are the 2 white keys, and these are the half steps. So a couple of music theory things that are really important in terms of finding your way around would be a half step, C to C sharp, right? Half step is white to black, and it moves up the keys in order. And then we have a whole step, which is like from C to D, we have 1 note in between. All right, so as you sit down and look at that piano, you say, okay, where does my finger placement want to be today? And as you move between the white and the black, you're going to find your hand moving in and out so that you can comfortably play both areas, right? Otherwise, you'll be sort of reaching up, for a black key. You don't have to do that. You can learn how to be flexible enough so that you can play the black keys and the white keys and move around accordingly. So our next exercise is going to be playing on the black keys only. All right, here's the fun thing about that. So the black keys make up a scale. It's called the pentatonic scale. And it happens to be F sharp major pentatonic. And penta means 5, so 5-note scale. And a pentatonic scale, this is like Chinese music. All right. Boom. So you're going to be, it's like a balancing act on the black keys, first of all. So it's super fun. The best part about this is that you can't play a wrong note. There's no wrong combination with black key playing. And so every time I have a new student, we do this. We do this as a duet, where I'll have my student play the melody, which is 1 note at a time, and then I play harmony, and then we jam. And it's amazing because everyone is a rock star. We do this exercise, and it's like they're playing some awesome stuff, and we're interacting, and then we start reading, and it's like, see, that's the thing. We've taken it into the left brain, right? So we have to keep remembering that the exploration is so, so important here. So let's try this. Now, you have a lot of choices. You can play just one hand, just concentrate on melody. You can just play clusters of chords, or you can do a chord that means multiple notes in one hand and melody in the right hand. Whatever you're feeling like doing is fine with me today. And so let's see. I'll just demonstrate here what I am talking about. All right. And by the way, I love the sustain pedal. This is the pedal that makes everything sound like very blissful and echoey, right? Because the hammers are off of the strings, or the dampers are off the strings, and so it's just going to echo for a long time instead of the sound stopping. So I always like to use the pedal. right. So everything for me is very like floaty and meditative and relaxing, right? But you can improvise any way you want. So if you're feeling punk rock, please do that. It's not the genre, it's the approach. And it's giving yourself now from going from play anything to play the black keys only. All right, let's do it. Go to it. All right. Endless possibility there. All right. You just might be just finding something you like. And I'm going to go back to that later. If you have your voice, if you don't have if you're not connected to a digital audio workstation like Ableton or Pro Tools or Logic, and you just have a piano, you can record ideas on your phone to go back to later. Very important, right? Start to log all your ideas. Okay, so with black key exercise, you could play all day, and then sort of the next step in that is to start to add white keys here and there that make sense tonally based on different scales, right? So we start with like the freedom, a basic foundation structure, and then we can add all the little bits that make it even more colorful. So now we're going to switch gears. We're going to go to the white keys. But I'm going to again give you an assignment of pulse. All right. So the first thing we just played, close your eyes, and honestly, you can close your eyes in any of these exercises because again, it's about feeling your way around the keyboard and exploring from that space. Right. If you get lost, you open your eyes. Right. So so with the white keys, we're going to be in what we call the key of C. All right, so C major key is all white keys from C to C, and that's where we start in beginning piano. The first scale we learn, C major. All right, so here we have the keyboard, our little controller. It's so cute. And C is to the left of the two black keys, if we didn't know. So you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And I'm looking at this and I'm seeing it's backwards. So this is taking a lot of coordination, let me tell you. So what you're going to do in the left hand is you're going to find a C and G, right? This is what we call a fifth interval. There's 7 half steps between C and G to make the fifth interval. A lot of talk and sound healing about the fifth interval being a very healing interval for the nervous system and really is the basis for a lot of open harmony. A lot of rock guitar, bass lines, stuff like that, chords, right? It's very open, meaning it doesn't have a quality of major or minor. But for right now, since we're going to jam on just the white keys and C major, we are in major, which is a very happy, joyful experience. It's Christmas season, and boy, we just need to be happy with our Christmas music and our major key. Otherwise, forget about it. I like minor keys, but we'll be major for right now. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to play C and G in the left hand, and then we're going to do melody in the right hand. So if you're uncomfortable with the 5-finger technique right now, you can just do 1 or 2 fingers. But if you've had lessons before and you want to explore, you can certainly move that right hand around any way that you like. Use all those fingers. I'm going to switch my view one more time here. And what we've got is, I'm going to start with C and G here. And just to develop a pulse here and try to keep that pulse going. Okay, so now we have to coordinate a little bit. And we're giving ourselves just like it's almost like a metronome in our left hand. We want to keep that steady. And our right hand's going to move around that, just using white keys. Okay, so if everybody can find that C is your pinky and G is your thumb. C to the left of the 2 black keys, and then your right hand just exploring around with the melody that is coming through you. All right, give it a try. All right. So I'm only giving you just a couple minutes for these, but you can always go back to your favorite, right? So, after class tonight, you'd be like, oh, I really want to explore that black key thing again. But it's great because what we're trying to do here is to give you a little bit of structure so you know where to play, and as you get better, tease in that music theory, and then you're accessing the language through your improvisational structures, and then your compositions and your songs are formed. Like, it's way quicker than you think it might be, right? Because classical music and training is very intimidating, right? That's where I really struggled myself, and I was like, there has to be something more. There's music inside of me, and I need to get it out. So you'll find that just trying different types of playing meditations and improvisational meditations will help you unlock those ideas that are like inside of you and just need the right vehicle to express. All right, so we're going to do one more. How's everybody doing? Okay, all right, good. Okay, so this one, which I thought of today, or we did a little bit with having a pulse, so we're going to continue to do that, but I'm going to teach you what is more so maybe a little bit more of an advanced technique, but not out of the realm of possibility whatsoever. So my right hand, I want to make sure you can see me and everything. Okay, so my right hand's just going to choose a note. So I'm going to make this improvisational exercise. I'm just going to use the white keys for this, but you can also use the black keys. And I'm going to choose one white key to just continue to play, or maybe a couple. So that C and the G that I put in the left hand, maybe I put that in the right hand now, or I just play a C, or I just play a D. We'll just do something a little bit different. So play D. So a little bit different here. I'm going to try D, 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 D. Now here's where the fun comes in, because that's pretty straightforward. But what a wonderful Zen practice to just play one note. If you want any indication of like a well-known performing musician that does this, look no further than Nils Fromm, one of my favorite artists. Nils Fromm, he'll just play, I think there's one piece where he plays B for the first 30 measures. And you're just loving it the whole time. It's like one note, right? So we're starting with this. And now my left hand is gonna just float over the top. Okay? Doesn't really matter what this hand is playing. This is the exploratory part. You can play notes together. You can play one note. But I'm giving myself the assignment to just play white keys. You can do whatever you want with this. And if you run out of ideas or you get a little tired, just let the right hand just take it for a little while. Create space. Okay, I could do that all day. So I'm going to go ahead and have you guys try that. And you could switch it too. So you can do just a couple of minutes of right hand doing the repetitive note and then the left hand doing repetitive note, but then the right hand is going over the top, which to me actually feels counterintuitive, especially when I'm reaching across my body down here. That's interesting. But up here, I feel like I'm used to reaching up here more. Anyway, just a little observation about my own playing. So choose your flying hand and give it a go. All right. Excellent. I wish I could hear what you guys are doing over there. I bet it's awesome. All right. So, those are just some basic exercises that I wanted to share with you today just to kind of get you guys going. Right? So you're not like trying to open a book and read and remember how to read music and then you get frustrated, you go a couple measures in, and you're like, man, maybe tomorrow. And, it's like working out. Like, I'll do it tomorrow. At least for me. So you got to be able to have something that's going to get you to sit in front of that keyboard and explore. And then from there, anything's possible. So a number of years ago, before I moved to Southern California, I had an outline, and I can't find it now, but I was trying to devise something for this context called the natural music method. And it was essentially like how I can teach theory without people really reading music, and do piano teaching from a more improvisational standpoint. So I think it's time, it's time to do it. And but I wanted to call it piano yoga, but when I put that ad up, I did a little research after, and I found a woman that she has a whole method called piano yoga, and so I was like, whoops. And so now I'm gonna just do the yoga of piano. So so we'll do that, and we'll see what we can get away with there. But really, it's about just being one with the instrument, with finding your voice through the tones. And so yeah, I'd love to hear, like, if anybody wants to unmute and let me know your experience with these exercises. What's your favorite? How's everybody feeling out there? This is the time to be just to tell me what happened. What's going on out there? Does anybody want to share?
I guess I'll share.
Great.
I had an interesting journey. So I stopped my classical training when I was 14. I had played since I was probably about 6 or 7, because the piano I'm playing on was my aunt's piano, and she taught me. And then our family inherited it when she died, so I got it eventually, which is I'm so grateful. But I really had a hard time with practicing, and I was wanting to just compose, and I wanted to create. So I was very right-brained, and my piano teacher, who was a friend of the family, was driven nuts by it. And so I had a 20-year hiatus after I quit at 14, and then I picked it up at about 34. And I found a piano teacher like you, Lynda, who was like, you don't have to read music. I said, I just want to sit down and play a song that I love and sing. And she taught me how to do that, doing chord, I forget what it's called, where you just progress the chords. Mm-hmm. So I had no piano in my house for a long time, but my family had a player piano, and it was pretty bad. I mean, it was like an upright that it was very old and refurbished a bazillion times and very heavy, and I didn't care. I loved it. And I was so scared of it after so many years of not playing. I thought, I don't know what I'm doing. And so I could only brave it in the dark. And I just sat down, like, shutting your eyes. And I just put my hands on it, was like, I'm so in love with you, and I'm so scared. And I just started playing. And I wish I had recorded what I did that night, because it was so amazing. And it made me get the chills. And I thought, I could do this. Yes. I don't have to do the classical sight reading. And here I am. Now I'm 50, but here I am many years later, much more comfortable with the chord progressions, finally getting sight reading to be practiced, but at my own pace, like tomorrow. But it is so great that you're doing this course, because I've always been that candidate who just couldn't handle the classical training, but had so much that wanted to come out of me. So thank you for this class, and I'm really excited.
Yay! I know, Star, it's so good, like, to have you here. And so everybody, like, Star is a sound healer, and her and her husband are based in Nebraska, right? Are you guys in Nebraska or Iowa?
Omaha. We're in the heartland.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and they're doing the sound healing out there. I love it. But really, amazing. And so she understands this concept of, like, playing with feeling and spaciousness and everything being slow, because you can always speed stuff up later, but, like, allow yourself to find places, like, in the music that you like, and just giving yourself time and space to do that. And sitting in the dark sounds just about right? That's the thing. You have to get that recorder out.
I know. I do. I really do. That's 2021 is the year of me composing again. So I'm excited.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I know. And there's been times when I've been so, like, I went to see a pianist, and then I came home so pumped up that I just sat down and started going crazy. There's this one night in particular when I went to see this pianist. His name is Omar Sosa. And he is he's a Latin jazz pianist. So he does, like, Cuban. He's Cuban, but he grew up, like, he lived in Oakland, and, like, he's just hip. He's so cool. Like when I'm around him, I'm just like, and I'm like a fangirl. And so I've seen him a bunch of times, but the first time was at Yoshi's Jazz Club in Oakland. I used to go there a lot, and it's like the most incredible place. Like, oh, like sushi restaurant and jazz club, like the best spot in the world. And he had me in tears because he would go from like a kind of more classical, spacious, meditative piece straight into some like, salsa deep deep dee doo dee dee doo, and then some like crazy like jazz progression stuff, and he would sample himself a little bit, and sometimes he would vocalize with his playing ever so subtly, and he's just so unique, right? So it's so many ways to express through this one instrument. And so that's why it's important to go back to it, right? So for me, even as a sound healer, like I couldn't bring my piano the past 4 or 5 years to my sound healing, so I kind of stopped playing, like writing and stuff on the piano, even though I was also teaching some lessons. I have Irene's son taking piano with me on Zoom. But now, with the pandemic, I'm just doing live streaming. All of a sudden I'm playing piano during my meditations again, and I'm back. I've got my Moog back there. I got like some synthesizer action happening. Like I'm stoked, and I'm like, oh, there you are again. I mean, for me, this is I started when I was 8. So this is a very long journey, and I'm always learning, and I've had to learn my scales and technique a bunch of times throughout the years and remind you, and then suddenly it just sticks. And I think for me, a lot of the theory and stuff is just ingrained heavily just from teaching so many students and like, repeating myself a bazillion times. But yeah, I just to remind myself, like the beginner's mind, we start with these simple exercises, and then we build upon that. So for a larger course, what I'm looking to do is by the end have everyone's going to have a piano composition or piece. Depending on if you have a DAW, if you want to do more like programming and music production and composing that way, or if you just want to do it all with piano, that's the goal. And over like an 7 to 8 week period, we're going to build our theory knowledge, and I give you exercises to help you do some construction and some improvising and meditation around that. So that's what I'm thinking. So everybody like least learns all their 12 keys, and has some music theory background in addition to just being and technique, in addition to feeling free with that knowledge. So that is the lofty goal of January 2021, to begin. So anyone else, any feedback or questions for me? Star, it was so nice to hear from you. Anyone else and have anything to share?
I'll share.
Yeah.
So nice to meet you. And
Hi, absolutely.
This class.
Yeah.
So I grew up as a dancer, and but I grew up with a piano in my house. So a lot of these things where we just play, I used to do that as a kid, is just get on the piano and just play and like find cool stuff. And I felt like I was really playing, but I didn't, but then I also felt like, well, I'm not taking lessons, so I don't know what I'm really doing, but it felt good. So it reminded me of that. I forgot that I used to do that until we started doing it. I was like, hey, I was doing this when I was a kid on the piano. And then I did take some formal lessons at LBCC over a decade ago. I took like 2 or 3 semesters of piano, but I forgot a lot of it. I did the audio engineering there too.
Awesome.
So yeah, but it's just, so I've gotten back in, I'm taking some lessons and have started, and I'm the same as the other woman who I just wanted to sit at the piano and be able to sing some songs, and I write my own music too. And so I've been working with a friend of mine who's a teacher, and I've learned some songs, and I've been able to explore the chords on my own and kind of come up with my own way that I express it. So, but this is all just so great because I'm very right-brained, and just the title of it, even I was like, oh, I can hang with that.
Me too, but it's already taken. Oh man. No, we're do yoga piano. I think I can get away with that.
Thanks.
Because it's mindfulness playing, right? Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. You know, it's discovery of playing something. First, you like what you're hearing, then you figure out what it is. So make no mistake, I want you to be able to figure out what it is after you play it. Like, oh, this is a C sus chord, or I want you to be able to figure out what key you're in. You know, maybe in a very broad sense, like we go over all 12 majors, or we do, 5 majors, 5 minors, or something. I want you to be able to piece together, what you're playing. But even for me, I play it. All after all those years of training, I play first, then I analyze what I'm doing. Why do I have to analyze what I'm doing? Well, if I want to compose in Ableton and I want to add a bass line and I want to add some other sounds, well, all those, it has to all make sense together, right? So at some point I have to know some of that stuff, but I'm telling you, there's so many tools out there where you don't have to think at all. Like, you don't have to play arpeggios. You can just put the arpeggio setting on and you play one note. So, I'm going to be a little bit of I'm going to be a realist and be like, okay, guys, we're going to learn how to actually play an arpeggio because it'll set you free. All right. You're going to get some of your fingers moving in the correct way. So let's be a little bit of both happening.